Wishing to stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I now call the City Council regular meeting in City Hall Council Chambers at 389 Spruce Street on the second floor of Morgantown, West Virginia, 26505, Tuesday, May 6, 2025 at 7:11 p.m. To order. It is also being broadcast live via YouTube at the City of Morgantown YouTube page. If the city clerk would be so kind as to please take roll.
Bill Koecki.
Here.
Weezy Michael.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Saline.
Here.
Danielle Trumbull.
Here.
Dave Archberger.
Here.
Brian Butcher.
Here.
Mayor Abu Ghanem.
Present. All right, first we have is our approval of minutes. We have the April 1st, 2025 regular meeting minutes, the April 8th, 2025 special meeting minutes, the April 15th, 2025 special meeting minutes, the April 15th, 2025 regular meeting minutes, and lastly, the April 16th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do we have any changes that need made?
I submitted a few. I assume they were corrected. Thank you.
I have one for the April 8th meeting, which was our interview of the potential city managers. I arrived late, so I was there for the second half, so I just wanted the record to show I was there for hopefully make that decision.
Any other? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
By acclamation?
Yep.
Good. All right. With that, we have several proclamations tonight. The first one today is, I'm trying to get these all in order. Okay. This way I don't have to keep sitting down and standing up.
Ah, efficiency.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow, this is wild.
All right, let's see. First one we have is, we have the Letter Carriers Food Drive Day. And Justin Jarman, is it? Yeah, if you would come up to the podium, I'd love to present you with this. Whereas, every year on the second Saturday in May, letter carriers across the country collect non-perishable food as part of the nation's largest one-day food drive, distributing the donations to local food bank. And whereas the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive is just one example of how letter carriers work to make a difference in the lives of those they serve. Since the pilot drive held in 1991, more than 109 billion pounds of food has been collected. And whereas they recognize all letter carriers for their hard work and their commitment to their communities, all the food collected in our community stays in our community, and they support carriers' efforts to help those in need in our community. And whereas they also recognize the noteworthy milestone of 33 years the National Association of Letter Carriers Food Drive celebrates in 2025. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Joe Abu Ghanem, Mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 10th, 2025 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day in the City of Morgantown, and we encourage the citizens of our community to support the food drive by placing non-perishable food items in or near your mailbox on Food Drive Day. Your letter carrier will pick it up while delivering the mail, and together we can all help to feed our hungry. Thank you. To tell us a little bit about it before.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for acknowledging our event this year. This year, like it was said in the proclamation, this will be the 33rd annual food drive for the USPS and the National Association of Letter Carriers. Each year, we try to get the word out as best we can to the customers that we serve each and every day. Like the proclamation said, this year we have seven food banks here in Morgantown working, and everything that we gather will stay here in Morgantown. This time of year is a very crucial time. Most food that's gathered is typically around the holidays, but right about this time, going into the summer break, especially for children, that amount of food has dropped off. So this is a crucial time of the year for us to restock those food banks in the city. Did anybody have any questions in particular?
Is there a weight limit on the food? Like, because I'm guessing you would prefer cans?
Honestly, we'll take just about any non-perishable food. We even take like soaps and shampoos and conditioners, things like that. That's another thing that people who might need food might also need that as well. But no, I haven't come across anything in my 12 years that's been too heavy.
Okay.
I mean, if we can deliver your dog food, I'm sure we can handle a few things.
I feel bad. I would feel bad in that regard. Like, I'll leave it on the curb at that point, like, to make
Well,
it
I
easier,
mean-
or I'll just wait at home.
The goal is just to,
It gives me a reason to use a sick day.
it's a pretty simple food drive. I mean, I joke with some of my customers and say, you don't even have to get dressed, you just have to take it out and set it on your porch or wherever you get your mail, and we take care of the rest. And once we get it back to the annex, which is on top of the hill, we distribute it to each and every food bank in the county.
Can you restate the date?
It's this Saturday, May 10th. Our carriers will be out on the street around 9, but as each route takes typically 6 to 7 hours to complete, it just depends on where you are in that line that we take, when we'll be there or not.
To be safe, put it out at 9.
9 or 10, yeah.
Is there a way to participate if we're not in town?
Absolutely. You can, either bring it to the annex and drop it off in the back. Honestly, we've had a decent participation as far as our rural carriers go. So if you do leave it out, they will pick it up and bring it back in.
And it's Saturday, so I'll already be off. I'll just wait with my bag.
That works for me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for organizing and informing. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you guys, like I said, acknowledging the event and just helping the people in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And next we have the National Preservation Month proclamation and accepting Cam Allen. Come on down.
Hi.
And help me with your name. What is it?
Ava Vavrick.
Ava
Vavrick.
Vabrick?
Vavrick with a
Vav-
V.
Vavrick.
Double V.
Double
yeah.
V. Okay,
Yeah.
Vavrick. Welcome.
Thank you.
Before I get up there and read, I thought I would share that we received in relation to preservation, we had received from the State Historic Preservation Offices about the Richwood Avenue wall, our letters of certification. So, camera now this way to share to the public. We didn't know a good time, so actually you all being here is perfect for us to share this first one. And the second one for the Deckers Creek wall. Share it this way. And then the third one is the 8th Street stone retaining walls. They've now all been listed as historic preservation in the National Register. And I can pass these along if you all would like to see them as I get up here to read. I believe you were involved in that. Is that right, Damon?
I think so.
Hello.
Just gonna put on my coat.
All right.
Bill, you were.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, that's the historic landmarks.
May I ask if you all turn just like this? Perfect. A little more. That's. Eric's over here. He's like a proud dad. We gotta. All right. Whereas Harnessing the Power of Place is the theme for National Preservation Month 2025, chosen by the National Trust for Historic Preservation to raise awareness about the power that historic preservation has to protect and strengthen the neighborhoods, communities, and landmarks that inspire us. And whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, sustainable development, maintaining community character, managing growth, and enhancing livability. And whereas it is relevant that we honor the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped the city of Morgantown and us as a people. And whereas historic preservation is essential to all communities across the United States, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. Now, therefore, I, Joe Abou-Ganim, Mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as National Preservation Month. In the City of Morgantown, I call upon the people of Morgantown to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. Dated the 6th day of May in the year 20. Eric, did you want to do it? Eric, this is your team.
Yeah, they're the ones that are doing the work.
All right, then.
Yes, so thank you, esteemed members of council, for receiving this proclamation and choosing to recognize National Preservation Month. Preservation is important all around Appalachia as we attempt to grow our local area and grow our community. It's so important that we're able to preserve the spaces that have made us who we are today. Macabre saying that everyone shares all the time is that, you know, those who do not remember their past are doomed to repeat it. Something a little bit more optimistic is that those who do not honor the places that have made them who they are today will never learn to love who they are today and see how far we've come. So thank you. And then also a big shout out to everybody who's working in historic preservation and who's put a lot of the effort in. I've seen the effort that people are putting in at like the Morgantown History Museum, and that work is incredible. And if there is anything more that we can do to preserve our great town and our great city and the history that has come from it, then I would be very happy to see that in our community.
Thank you. Did you want?
I'll just say, we have a little campaign going on this month on Main Street social media, so if you guys want to give it a little look, share anything that relates to you like or relates to you. We are using the hashtags looking up Morgantown, hashtag saving places, and hashtag preservation month. So
Can you repeat the first one?
looking up Morgantown, hashtag looking up Morgantown. Yep. So you can check out our socials and hop on the little campaign with us on your socials if you want.
Fantastic.
Have you had much participation so far?
Yeah, we definitely have the History Museum, and yeah.
I know it's been up and running for a bit.
Yeah, for the month of May.
Yeah,
Very
the
good.
History Museum is running their Old Stone House exhibit all throughout May, so you all can learn about the oldest standing structure in all of Morgantown.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And it's not me.
Can I ask, can I ask Bill a question?
Yeah.
So, Bill, what do you know about this, these Stonewall preservation recognitions? It's the Historic Landmarks Commission, and then could you also say if you have some openings on it? I'm throwing you some couple softballs.
Yes, you are, you know, helping me fill some vacancies. No, there are some positions the board are available. I think we have 2 open slots. And this is ongoing for some period of time. Actually, a couple people who are no longer on the board
Yeah.
who initiated this some time back, and then it was picked up again by a AmeriCorps volunteer we had at the time and promoted further, and we were able to bring that to final recognition that these are the walls, the stone walls that were built during the I'm trying to think of the name, the WPA, yeah, administration. So, just part of what we have in the rich history that we have in Morgantown. And thank you for participating.
Thank you, thank you.
So do people who would like to be on this group need to be city residents?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Maybe that's something that you all in the clerk's office could help advertise for that during this month.
Yeah.
Because
would
we
love
could
to.
use
I
some,
would love to, yeah.
we could use some participation, and if people are excited,
For sure.
this might be the moment.
We'll get connected.
Excellent. As the Girl Scouts always say, make new friends, but keep the old, for one is silver and one is gold.
We'll leave you on that, I guess.
You went to camp too?
All right, in the interest of preservation, I'm going to turn the mic over to Councilor Trumbull, who has an announcement to make at the podium.
I lied a little to get her here. A little? I did not tell her that she won the award. I did not tell her that she was receiving a proclamation. Turns out I'm better at keeping secrets than she thought. Whereas the City of Morgantown proudly recognizes citizens whose work elevates our community and inspires others through leadership, vision, and action. And whereas Adelheid Schalp, a licensed general contractor, owner of Empire 2000, and founder of Forever Greenmont, has been named the recipient of the prestigious 2024 Young Professional Award by the National Association of Home Builders, a national honor bestowed upon young leaders under the age of 45 who have demonstrated outstanding professional achievement, industry advocacy, and impactful community involvement. And whereas Ms. Schalp has spearheaded the revitalization of Morgantown's historic Greenmont neighborhood, creating quality, affordable housing options, restoring blighted structures, preserving historic character, and demonstrating a commitment to sustainable neighborhood growth. And whereas Ms. Schalp's work reflects her values as a servant leader, generously giving her time, expertise, and resources to community organizations, including the Morgantown 2033 Steering Committee, helping to shape the future of Morgantown, the city's Land Reuse and Preservation Agency, advising on federal grant strategies for rehabilitating blighted properties, and on the ICC Building Code Board of Appeals, upholding building quality and safety across the city. And whereas beyond her technical skill, Ms. Schalp is known for her unwavering commitment to community through actions like providing tools for community cleanups, contributing artifacts to the Morgantown History Museum, and developing a Greenmont historic walking tour, among others. And whereas she is a source of inspiration to women and young professionals in the building trades and a compelling example of how local dedication can earn national recognition. Therefore, I, Danielle Trumbull, on behalf of the entire City Council of Morgantown, West Virginia, do hereby commend and celebrate Adelheid Schalp for her receipt of the 2024 National Association of Home Builders Young Professional Award and extend our heartfelt gratitude for her contributions to the beauty, resilience, and future of Morgantown.
So no one told me about this, so I blame a lot of people in this room. I'm taking note of who you are because there's a lot of you. So I'm very ill-prepared to say anything.
Brad,
but-
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Very surprised and very appreciative. Thank you very much. I've worked like 20 years to try to bring Greenmont back, and I feel like we've really made some traction, and it's nice to actually be recognized for it. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have no one to accept. It is the Gene Vance Jr. Day proclamation. However, I do believe we have, let's see, this is for armed forces. Do we have any veterans here? And Damien. Oh, all right. Would you like one or both to accept? We have two veterans here. Or I can just read it.
Go ahead.
Or I can, Bill started turning his seat. It's too late, Bill. Would you like-
Okay.
Both of you? All right. Come on up. All right.
Bunches of surprises at this.
I know, so many. All right. Can you stand right here?
Sure.
It's so everyone at home can see you. I'm just thinking about it. Whereas the 14th annual Gene Vance Jr. Day will be observed in Morgantown, West Virginia on the 17th day of May, U.S. Armed Forces Day 2025, to honor the legacy of all American soldiers, those who boldly serve, those who have fallen, and those who have sustained life-altering injuries while defending our nation and preserving our freedom. And whereas the 14th Gene Vance Jr. Day recognizes an American hero, U.S. Special Forces SSG Gene Arden Vance Jr. of the West Virginia Army National Guard's 219th Special Forces Group Airborne, who despite being mortally wounded, saved the lives of 2 fellow Americans and 18 Afghan soldiers during the war in Afghanistan. And whereas the 14th Gene Vance Jr. Day is the only commemorative military appreciation day in the United States named for a fallen U.S. soldier, Morgantown, West Virginia native Gene Arden Vance Jr. Gene Arden Vance Jr. symbolizes the extraordinary courage and dedication and sacrifice of all members of the United States Armed Forces as reflected nationwide in military and civilian installations carrying Vance's name, including an intelligence building at Camp Dawson, West Virginia, a bridge in West Virginia, a road, a bike trail, and commemorative day in Morgantown, West Virginia, all honoring his heroic and selfless actions. And whereas 2025 is the 24th anniversary of the tragic 9/11 terrorist attacks on our nation, the remarkable commitment the armed forces and first responders make to and for this nation, and the unyielding dedication of the Gene Vance Jr. Foundation for the catastrophically injured are worthy of recognition, and it is fitting, therefore, that Vance, the foundation, in his honor, and all the servicemen and servicewomen be honored today and every day. And whereas this day serves as as a solemn reminder of the cost of liberty, the valor of service members facing unprecedented challenges, and the resilience of those who continue to carry the burdens of battle they sustain while fighting to ensure our freedom and life. And whereas the city of Morgantown is proud to be the hometown of Gene Vance Jr. and joins in this annual tradition of remembrance, gratitude, and unity. Now, therefore, I, Joe Abou-Ganim, Mayor of the city of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim May 17th, 2025 as Gene Vance Jr. Day in the city of Morgantown, and encourage all citizens to honor the legacy of Gene Vance Jr. and the selfless service of all American military personnel, past and present. And thank you both. Now that you both just have your own picture. I didn't serve.
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much.
Do I get a chance to say something?
Absolutely.
First of all, thank you for this. It's unexpected. And then also, too, let me indicate that this is the 14th anniversary of this particular honor for Gene Vance. And I had participated with this, and it was in place well before I served on council. But also, too, I want to say to all of our veterans, thank you for all of your service. It is nice to have finally have some recognition for the contribution that these people have made. So again, thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. All right.
back in shape.
The 5K?
5K.
I could never imagine doing a 5K, let alone 1 mile at this point.
Pickleball doesn't keep you in shape for a 5K?
Short burst. Short burst. It's lateral movement, it's
Yeah.
pickleball, right? All right, and next we have the National Police Week. If our own Chief Powell and Deputy Chief Raymer, please come on. How are we doing? Good. Welcome, welcome. Sir, how are you? Where, I always feel like I have to clear my throat. I don't know why, I'm sorry. Whereas the law enforcement officers of Morgantown, West Virginia, and communities across our nation serve with integrity, courage, and dedication, preserving peace and enforcing the law, and protecting the rights and freedoms of all people. And whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls, National Police Week. And whereas National Police Week, May 11th through the 17th, 2025, pays special recognition to law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, there have been over 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States that have made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives in the line of duty. And whereas the names of 148 officers who died in the line of duty in 2024 and 197 officers who died in previous years will be inscribed in the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial between April 14th and the end of the month. And whereas the 148 deaths in 2024 represent a 25% increase in the line of duty deaths in comparison to 2023. And whereas the following will be honored during the 37th annual Candlelight Vigil held at the National Mall at 8 p.m. on May 13th. And the Candlelight Vigil is a part of National Police Week, which will be observed this year, May 9th through the 20th. And whereas May 15th, 2025 is designated as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Joe Aboghanum, Mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. In the City of Morgantown, I publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. Thank you both. Please. Actually, you can. I'll just stand here like this.
1, 2, 3. Great, thank you. I'm going to take the liberty of speaking on behalf of law enforcement officers around the country, as well as particularly my department, the Morgantown Police Department, to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for this proclamation. It's a somber time for law enforcement this time of year, every year. It's a time where we honor the service of our fellow officers and remember their sacrifice and to share in a little bit of that honor and that remembrance with the families of those who sacrificed everything for the sake of doing their job and doing their profession. So on behalf of current members of the police department, past members of the police department, and future members of the police department, thank you very much.
And then we have one more proclamation, because it's Clerk's Week. If our city clerk, we just love surprises. That's really what it comes down to.
Nothing on the agenda. Yeah, just.
Thank you. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of our local government, exists throughout the world and is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the Office of the Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the oath of office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is the most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Joe Abu-Ghanem, Mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of City Council on the second day of May, do hereby recognize the week of May 4th through May 10th, 2025 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerks and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, come on.
Speech.
Oh, thank you.
And our municipal clerk is so humble that she didn't even tell us it was Municipal Clerks Week. And purposely left it off. But good news for us is Ms. Mazzarelli is back and had come up with the idea of surprising you. So thank you for all that you've done and have done, especially with the election that just happened. That is a lot of work as an understatement. So thank you. All right. Next we have public hearings, which there are none. On to unfinished business. We have boards and commissions, which I believe we have several. There's 3.
I can start out. I'd like to nominate Liz Finkley to Sister Cities.
Second. By acclamation. All right.
I move to reappoint Meredith Ballas to the Bow Park Board.
Second.
By acclamation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Joshua Swiger to the Cultural Arts Commission.
Second.
And by acclamation.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Very good. Next, we have the public portion, which shall be subject to the rules established by council and adopted by resolution. Please remember to state your name and address and to not speak, or to not speak, to stay to our 4-minute time limit, please, and thank you. I now open this public portion. And the first person we have is Cronin the Barbarian Annie of the Human Rights. What is it? What does it say? Oh, it's one word. I'm sorry, I added an extra N. Cronin the Barbarian. Barbarian Annie. I can't say that. It's like a tongue twister. And welcome.
Human Rights Commission, that'd be me. Not the whole commission, just the person who's speaking about it. I'm more interested in civil rights today, I think, than human rights. You have before you a conduct of public meetings by electronic means decision. And just reading through it, and to the average person, it looks like it should be titled, "We Do What We Want." I know that's not your intent, but it leaves it wide open so that you can do, we don't have to have people participate, which is true. That is what the code says, and that's what the ethics decision said. But the intent of the code says that it is for the public to participate. And yes, you must put limits on that, please. 4 minutes, fine. But it leaves the possibility that you can exclude public comment at a meeting. And we should tighten that up some. And electronic participation by members. you could all stay home. And just some of us show up, in theory, just the way this is written. And I think generally speaking that a lot of the value of this council is that you are here in person, and that we're here in person, and we get to speak. Should there be a meeting where the public is not allowed to speak, you'd have a lot of angry campers, myself being probably one of them. Next issue is notice for public meetings. There was a problem with the last special meeting that was put up for notice on April 30th at 4:30 p.m. for a meeting to be held on, April 20th, for a meeting to be held on 22nd at 7 p.m., which doesn't meet the notice requirements for a public meeting, which clearly you picked up on and canceled the meeting. I was told when trying to file for a meeting, because I was 2 minutes past closing time, that I could not have my regular meeting because it wasn't noticed properly. And so we didn't have it. And then a couple months later, similar situation with somebody else filing it. It didn't get in on time, and was told you can make it a special meeting, but you can't make any decisions here. You can't vote on anything. You can still have the meeting. Everybody gets together. You discuss things, but no votes are to be taken. I don't know what the authority was for this, but this is what I was told. Same for committee of the whole meetings. It is for you to get information from various groups and presenters, but no official actions are to be taken at those meetings. No votes, no proclamations are to be made. I was told that because my proclamation was turned down. So we did it at the next meeting, which was fine. We had Cinco de Mayo, which I probably shouldn't have done at all. And I just would like you to enunciate a clear policy on what constitutes notice. Putting it in the newspaper doesn't help a whole lot of people, because at this point you have to pay to get a newspaper. If you're online, you have to pay to read an article or pay to read notices. I don't do that because I'm cheap. I don't buy the newspaper because I don't kill trees, if I can help it. Most people go online to check. It doesn't make sense to expect 30,000 people, the population of Morgantown, to come to the front door of City Hall and check that crowded posting board to see if there may be a meeting that they don't know about. So putting it online is probably the most reliable, cheapest, reasonable way to give notice. And I would ask that you put that in your policy somewhere. So there's that. April is American Asian, Native Pacific Islander Month for Heritage. And there will be a proclamation for that as soon as I write it, probably for the next meeting. I just want to put that out there. April is AAPI month. Thank you.
Thank you.
6 seconds.
Next, we have Stephanie Hunt.
Hi, 220 Front Street, Stephanie Hunt. I'm speaking as a Greenmont resident and community organizer who's been closely involved in conversations about housing and land use here in Morgantown. I want to express strong support for the land transfers on tonight's agenda. And these may seem like small or oddly shaped parcels, but they represent progress. They're a step in the right direction, getting unused public land into the hands of land reuse and preservation agency, so it can serve a public good. That said, I want to be clear that this is only the beginning. These transfers are not the solution to our affordable housing crisis. The Land Reuse and Preservation Agency still needs additional funding to acquire properties in Lower Greenmont that could actually make a real impact. More than a one-woman team. She's doing a great job, but she could use some support. I've heard city leaders say that the money just isn't there. I also saw the same city spend over $500,000 on demolition for the East End project and pledge another $500,000 towards a refinancing reserve. That's more than $1 million in public support for a private development that, when fully built, won't include a single affordable unit. I understand the urgency behind that decision. There were complicated ownership issues and a risk that the land would be fragmented or sold off in ways that didn't benefit the city. I'm not here to criticize that decision, but I am here to ask, where's that same urgency when the goal is affordable housing? Because the need is real and it's growing. We've seen job losses at places like NIOSH, 800 good-paying jobs lost. That means more people earning less in a city where housing keeps getting more expensive. So yes, tonight's land transfers are a good step, but they're not a substitute for the kind of funding and action we need to move real affordable housing forward. If we're serious about addressing housing affordability in Morgantown, we have to back that commitment with resources, not just in words, but in actions like this. I hope the city will continue to take steps that match the scale of need and the urgency that so many residents are feeling. Thank you.
Next, we have Paige
Rearing.
Rearing.
Yes, and I learned from last time I'm going to stand maybe like here. I just have a naturally loud voice.
Oh.
Okay. My name is Paige Rearing, and I live at 231 Spruce Street, and I want to talk about the camping ban ordinance. I spoke with some people who voted to uphold it, and the common complaint I heard, all from other white women, was that they didn't feel safe walking around downtown, especially at night, because of the quote-unquote drug addicts and homeless people. I may not be able to change the results, but I can mitigate the harm. If you claim to have voted out of fear, I hope you'll listen well. After spending 6 hours on Sunday working in the community garden and at the mutual aid, it was dinner time, and although the results were not official, it seemed clear that the camping ban would be upheld. So it's 9 o'clock, Sunday night, soft spring rain. I'm a 31-year-old white woman. I live alone and the streets are otherwise empty. And with pepperoni pizza in arm, I approach a group of unknown men, some of whom likely suffer from addiction, in front of the public library. But I'm not afraid of them, because I see them as they are. People who have led lives that are just as complicated and complex as my own. And I always treat them as people, extending the same kindness and grace I would offer anyone, even if all I have is acknowledging their existence and saying, I can't, I'm sorry. I sat with these 4 people and we spoke as neighbors while they ate. There were 2 people who had places to stay, but just didn't have the means to get there. I quickly assessed them, and then I chose the radically kind path. And I said, I'll drive you. I did 2 trips. I drove a woman to Westover, and when I returned, the man who had an apartment in Star City had 2 more people with him. He asked nervously if they could come to stay. I replied, let me make space in the back seat. They told me about themselves during the drive, and halfway through the conversation, the man told me, when you said you'd drive us home, I thought you were pulling a prank. During our earlier drive, the woman had confessed to a similar fear and told me stories of the vile tricks pulled on her before. How cruel of a community have we cultivated? I approached people suffering in our community to offer a helping hand, a key element, supposedly, of Christian values, of Southern hospitality, of the Golden Rule, and yet they are treated so consistently horribly that they thought my kind gesture was a joke meant to torture them. When we reached this apartment in Star City, the man turned to me and he had tears in his eyes and he said, thank you so much. You have no idea what a blessing you are. Sunday night, I alone prevented 4 people from trying to sleep in the streets and avoid arrest. I showed them that there are still people who are willing to reach out a helping hand, who see them as humans, as members of our community, as your constituents. I didn't just throw money at them and call it a day. I put myself in an admittedly risky situation because there is action behind my words and there's authenticity to my values. I get my hands dirty. I gave my time and my resources, and in return, I built a community in spite of the 986 people who voted to uphold the ban. And I don't tell you this to congratulate myself, but to show that there is a choice to be made when one of your neighbors asks for help. I don't expect anyone who voted out of fear to drive a stranger home, but the bare minimum you can do is at least acknowledge them as people and to give them humanity. Right outside this door, it states that the City Council resolves to act with a helpful intent. When faced with the opportunity, I know that I will make the radically kind choice every single time. What choice will you make? Thank you.
And then, if there is anyone else wishing to speak at this time?
Yeah.
Are you waiting for me to talk first? Okay, sorry. Okay. All right. That thing gives me extreme anxiety, so I try not to look at it. Lindsay Jacobs. I live in Woodburn in the 5th Ward. I was just doing math and trying to remember. I know we were in the old building when some of us started coming to talk about affordable housing, and I think way back then, which has been, I feel like, well over a year ago, way before we were ever talking about camping bans, and which really, I think, derailed the conversation that we were trying to have back then, which was, I think when we were all on the same page, which was, we don't want folks sleeping outside, we don't want folks to have to sleep on the street, we don't want folks in encampments, of course, because we believe that everybody has a human right to shelter. And so when we were initially coming and having those conversations, it was about how can we as a community figure out how to create more short-term shelter, mid-term shelter, long-term shelter. What are solutions for keeping people who are already housed? It's so frustrating when I come up here and you all like immediately look into the corners or whatever because you don't care what any of us actually have to say. And then you wonder why we don't respect you. Anyway, we were coming to talk to you about actual solutions to the housing crisis that we have here in Morgantown, which is that it's sort of twofold, right? We can't keep people housed because people don't have enough money. We have high rates of eviction, and so people are losing the housing that they have. And then the flip side of it is that once people lose their housing, we don't have a way to get them back into shelter because we don't have enough shelter. We're down to 19, beds at Grace Shelter now. And then the shelter beds that we have, I think, at Rainbow House are pretty well full. So our shelters are full up, is what we know. So anyway, the conversations that we were having back then were, how do we keep people housed? How do we create more short-term, mid-term, long-term shelter? How do we make sure people have water? How do we make sure people have places to store their belongings so that we have less trash on the trail and on the streets? How do we make sure that people have places to use the bathroom so that they don't have to use the bathroom along the rail trail? We talked about how that doesn't just apply to homeless people. That's applied to me whenever I've been out on the rail trail before. We talked about all these solutions that have been proven to work in other places. None of them easy, of course, but real solutions that work. And then we got derailed by the camping ban, and that has sucked so much wind out of our sails. So win, lose, or draw, glad it's behind us. I think we'll talk about it again because I'm sure it's going to get amended because we have a much better council coming in this summer, which we're definitely looking forward to working with. What I really came up here to say is that the Morgantown Coalition for Housing Action isn't done. I'm not done. Mountain State Justice isn't done. None of the folks who've poured their heart and soul into protecting our neighbors are done, and we're going to keep showing up. We're here tonight. We're going to keep eyes on this council. Every candidate we've talked to knows that we're going to keep eyes on them and hold them accountable. I want to let y'all know that we're already, just because we have a camping ban doesn't mean that people's constitutional rights go away. We're connected with networks of advocates all over the country who are suing left and right when homeless people's constitutional rights are violated. And so we're ready to do that the moment someone's rights are violated under this new ordinance. And so we're going to have all sorts of know your rights trainings to make sure that people on the street understand what their rights are. I wish the police were still here so they could hear this, to make sure that the government knows, the police know, and we're going to train up the citizenry so they know what to look for, so that folks on the street know what their rights are. We'll make sure that all of you are invited because it'd probably be really good for you all to know. So yeah, we're not done, and we're going to keep showing up and look forward to continuing to press you to solve with real solutions the dual problems of keeping people housed and responding to those who are no longer housed. Thank you.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak?
Thank you for hearing me. Charlie, I'm in South Park. Most of you know and loathe me or love me by now. I just came up here to remind everybody that the camping ban failed by 80 votes, exactly 80 votes. 1,800 people showed up to vote. It was very, very split. But I'll remind you that when we went out in the street and we got people to back putting the ordinance on a referendum on the ballot, we had more than 1,300 signatures from registered voters who just didn't make it out to vote this time. 80 votes. And I appreciate the eye contact, but I'm really talking to folks at home. 80 votes. Something this consequential should not be decided by 80 votes. And I understand how far and how hard we have gone on this, and I understand how exhausted everybody is, and I understand how badly we want some kind of one-size-fits-all quick-fix solution. But the fact of the matter is, everywhere we see camping bans like this implemented, you only get temporary gains when you lock people up, and then as soon as they are back on the streets, they face increased difficulties gaining temporary emergency shelter, transition shelter, and permanent housing. That's not a solution. It doesn't fix anything. I had to print out a giant process map to prove to you and ask you to point to me at what point in this process that you have designed are you solving any of the root causes? And no one could answer me, not in multiple hearings. And it was very clear that you wanted to push this through as quickly as possible to avoid as much pushback as possible because you knew it was going to be controversial and difficult and very, very, very close. Anything decided with this much tumult needs to be revisited, reinvestigated, and needs to be agreed upon. We need some kind of consensus. 80 votes? 80 votes! Out of 30,000 people here, do you really think 80 votes is enough to confidently move forward with something like that? Because I don't. We had 1,300 signatures, more than that, of people who are now upset with us and disappointed because they thought that doing all that work, going out and canvassing, getting those signatures, advocating for neighbors, and doing all of this activism, learning how to canvass, they thought that was going to do it. They thought that all those hours of work, how many weeks of work did we pour into this? I mean, if we were getting paid even minimum wage, it would have been hundreds, thousands. So much money, so much time that we spent advocating for our neighbors to be safe. This is not something that I think should go forward. I don't think that you should take those 80 votes as a green pass. And you know that you will be hearing from us. We come from a harm reduction standpoint, but I'm not going to say anything or make any suggestions today that we don't have good consensus and full community backing for, which is what I think you should do because it's kind of your job. So that's all I'm going to say. I literally looked this up on your website. These are your results, 80 votes. Nothing should be decided like that. And every step you take forward in any direction remotely in that regard needs to be with so much trepidation, not just because we are so divided on this, but because of how consequential it is and because you know how disenfranchised the very population you are targeting already is. Thank you for hearing me.
Hey guys. How's everyone doing? All good. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Stephanie Welzak. I'm in Mr. Koecki's ward, up top, Grant Street. So when my wife, sorry, I'm going to start that again. When my wife left the Navy, we expected to land in a coastal city, San Diego, Norfolk. But instead, life brought us to Morgantown. Honestly, we couldn't be more grateful. From the early mornings at Phoenix Bakery to the smiles from Tasia and Tommy at Madeline Marie's to the small business owners that greet us like we're family, we instantly felt at home here. And it became more than a place to live. It became where we wanted to end up at the end of our lives. When I look back to the moments that shaped why I wanted to stay here, I think back to the Greenmont Block Party when my wife traded her sailor's uniform for a hot dog suit and sold raffle tickets all the way up and down Green Street. She looked good in that hot dog suit. She proudly marched in the Veterans Day Parade, this time not as someone stationed in a port city or during Fleet Week, but as a veteran embraced by her community here. And I think that's what makes Morgantown different, is that even if you're not from here, even if you weren't raised and grew up here, people welcome you. And they welcome you because you're regular, you're a familiar face, and the community is incredibly strong here. So we're going to retire here, not because of the mountains and the beauty and the environment in West Virginia, but because of the way that the city treats people. So I just want to say thank you. And thank you for building a city that welcomes people that didn't grow up here. And thank you for creating a positive environment and building towards a city that's even better for the people that live here. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? And I'm going to close the public portion. We do not have, could you pass this out, please? We do not have any special committee reports nor a consent agenda. First thing we have is the consideration of adoption of updates to electronic meetings policy. Look to our attorney, Ryan Simon.
Thank you, Mayor. What's presented to Council is an update to the city's existing
electronic meetings policy. As a reminder, this is a policy that applies only for meetings that are conducted without a physical location. This is relatively new in West Virginia when it was adopted. And the update tonight, it really just incorporates updated state law guidance on when those meetings can be held and makes a couple stylistic changes in the existing procedures. So the City Council has adopted meeting rules as it's required to under the Open Governmental Proceedings Act that provide for things like notice and agendas and meeting locations for its general meetings. This policy is a kind of supplement. It applies to all city boards and commissions as well as council, and provides for meetings that are conducted only by electronic means. And why the city has that is because those present particular access issues. When you don't have a public meeting space, the city is taking extra steps to make sure that people can participate. So these rules provide that, the link to the video conference or the call-in for the phone number will be available on the agenda. Provides for how people can call in. It provides an additional method for people who would like to make public comment at the meeting. When that is available, they can submit it in writing, whereas ordinarily that's not a method. So these are just supplements. To address a couple of the public portion comments quickly, it does not provide for meetings where the members of the public body are participating by electronic means and the public is in a physical meeting space. That would be covered by general meeting rules. This is for meetings that do not have a physical meeting space. Notice is not covered by these rules. They just, except with respect to stating the specific participation method. The notice requirements are established by the City Council meeting rules. They provide that notice will be published at City Hall and may be published to the city website. City Hall is kind of the default because not everybody has access to the website or goes there to look. But that is not a part of these rules. I think that covers all the updates. Like I said, the general purpose here is this is updating existing rules and kind of tracking updates from state law. The Ethics Commission had originally given guidance during COVID that they agreed these meetings were permitted. They've since adopted a couple of advisory opinions on it. So we ask that council adopt the policies, but happy to answer any questions you have.
Move to approve.
Second. No discussion, or we have discussion? No one had any questions, so I didn't know if there was anything to discuss.
They were answered, so I don't.
Okay.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Abugana?
Yes, passes 7-0. Next, we have the consideration of approval of first reading of an ordinance authorizing the transfer of city real estate to the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency. And we have our members here tonight, Alda Hyde and Jessica Schaup.
So before they start, this is transferring 19 parcels that have been vetted through all city departments and our Morgantown Utility Board to make sure there is no official use that the city needed of these properties. So every department looked at all of the parcels that the city's had, looked at the ones we didn't want or didn't have a use for, then forwarded them on to MUB to make sure that they didn't have a use or utility that ran through these properties. And so they've been vetted through most of all departments.
All right, and before Jessica gets started, Adelheid, let me say congratulations on your award. I'm glad you were here to be surprised by Councilor Trump. Is that the word?
Totally Buffalo, yes.
I give you credit. I don't like surprises. My mom once held a surprise birthday party for me. I turned around and walked out the door. So you didn't do that, so congratulations.
I wrote a letter of recommendation for the award and then kept it a secret that she had actually won. I knew a week or two before she did, and then I wrote this proclamation and kept it a secret until she had a reason to be at council otherwise.
And she's still here. So
I
kudos.
asked Chief Powell not to let her leave.
Oh, okay.
Is the trust gone?
She'll get over it.
And now we'll turn our attention to you.
All
Jessica,
right.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Last time we met, we thought we were talking about the general state of the land reuse agency, and we weren't quite ready for that, but we are now.
Excuse me,
So-
before you go on.
Yes.
For the listening audience, will you identify yourself and your position?
Oh, sure. I'm Jessica McDonald, Chair of the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency for the City of Morgantown.
Thank you.
So for those that aren't familiar, the agency was formed by ordinance in 2018, and the mission is to pursue the acquisition, management, and disposition of property that's suitable for conservation, water quality protection, public space, affordable housing, and commercial uses. We had a retreat this winter to kind of reevaluate after about 6 years of being together as a board and to come up with some new goals and tasks for the year. 3 things really emerged from that session. We want to lead the revitalization of Lower Greenmont, we want to deploy land reuse programming throughout the city, and we want to establish some income targets and sources for the agency as a whole. Just to put this in context of how the land reuse agency really fits into what the city is working towards, I looked at the 2030 comprehensive plan and just pulled out some critical priorities that are in alignment with our mission. This map here shows some key areas that the comprehensive plan pulled out for development, and of course Greenmont and downtown are both there. Critical priorities from that plan include creating additional green space and trails, creating more housing choices that are affordable, and preserving green spaces and natural resources. Oops, went the wrong way there. How to work a mouse. All right. So some of the land management goals that came out of the comprehensive plan include inventorying and evaluating city-owned land, redeveloping and revitalizing underused areas, protecting the environment and open space, and the plan called for the creation of small area plans in multiple parts of the city, including Lower Greenmont. So the reason that we've focused on Lower Greenmont is twofold. First of all, the neighborhood association has been asking for help for that area for several years. The city heard that request and allocated $600,000 of ARPA funds several years ago for addressing the blighted area that is Lower Greenmont. So what we've tried to do is assemble 2 sort of separate sections of property in that area. If you start here at the lower corner and work up into that triangular area, The lower corner is kind of near Essie's Ice Cream Shop on Brockway, and then the other part of that approaches towards Deckers Avenue. So that area is what we've designated as potential green space. It's in the floodplain. The second area that you see there in green is what we've tried to assemble for some housing. And so basically we tried to maximize the money that we were given, assemble contiguous parcels so that we can really make something of this funding. All told, we've got most of this area under control. Some of it's still under contract, but generally speaking, once we accomplish this project, we'll have accumulated 24 parcels, a total of 2.4 acres, for just a little bit over $1 million. So this slide shows the area that we're designating for the green space. It's got some houses on it that need to be demolished, but we think it has great potential. Here are the houses that are specifically in this area. You can see that they're really in disrepair. They've definitely caused some trouble for the neighborhood. They've been the site of criminal activity, and they're full of trash. The green space potential, though, is huge. One of the houses in this area burned down, and the lady that owned it already demolished it, so they conveniently created a little path from the street down to this space right by Deckers Creek. It's a really nice, wide, flat space. There's also a hillside, too, but it's right next to the creek, right across from the trail. So Caitlin Lewis, the new employee in the Development Services Department, put together some ideas for the space, and the intent here will be to go to the neighborhood, to really gather some input from stakeholders, see what kinds of things they would like to see, and then create a space that's going to be to their advantage. In the area sort of circled in red there, this is the bunch of parcels that we think has potential for housing. Several of these were already owned by the city, and then we have managed to get almost all of the rest of this contiguous section under contract. As we've told you before, we don't have funding for all of it quite yet, and so we're looking for that from other sources. But the thought is that this is a pretty affordable section of land. It's got such potential. You're looking out at all that green space, you're really close to the Deckers Creek Trail, and you've got great access to downtown and all of the thriving businesses that already exist in South Park and Greenmont. We don't know what this housing development is going to look like yet. We have some ideas about how we would like to see it. We would like to see something sustainable, something attractive, something that's truly a nice place to live. Again, we would like to go to the neighborhood and solicit some feedback for what kind of shape this takes. We have been working with Chris Fletcher at Urban Design Ventures, who's already on contract with the city, and he told us that he knows of at least 3 developers who would like to get into the Morgantown market but haven't been able to yet. So we're hoping that by assembling this land for a relatively low cost, we're going to be able to get a developer on board who wouldn't otherwise be able to work here because the land is pretty expensive otherwise. And we know there are a lot of tax credits available, so it seems like it might be a tenable situation. And then just expanding beyond Lower Greenmont, we're trying to look at the city as a whole and see what we can do to put some base level programs in place in accordance with what the Land Reuse Agency is supposed to do. When the agency was created, in the ordinance, it's actually required that the city adopt a land preservation program. That has never been done. Ryan has put together a draft. It's pretty simple, but it's basically outlining the strategies for dealing with green space in the city. So we will be pursuing the adoption of that program just to keep in accordance with the ordinance and what was required. We'd also like to return underused city property to the tax rolls, and that's why we're here today asking that you transfer those properties that weren't being highly used to us so that we can flip them back to a better use. In the process of doing some investigation in the last few months, we've talked to the City of Charleston and the City of Nitro, who both have really active land reuse agencies, and we got a lot of great information from them. One thing that we got from Charleston is that they have a successful side lot program. I think that's probably going to look a little different for Morgantown than it does for them because they had a ton of empty lots, and a whole lot more blight than we do. But basically what they told us is that when the land reuse agency acquired a parcel, they would contact the adjacent landowners and offer it to them for a really low price. And so you get it back under, somebody's maintaining it, and it's back onto the tax rolls. So it seems like a great solution. So we would like to start that here. We are also planning actively a property donation campaign. We've had several people come to us through no fault of ours, just ask to donate their properties. And we've learned a few things about what kinds of properties come to us that way. We've had one person who intended to rehab a property but ran out of money, and so it sits vacant and dilapidated. We've had others who have accumulated a vast amount of liens, tens and thousands of dollars of city fees. And so our thought is, rather than let those fees continue to accumulate, let's proactively approach those people and offer the option of donation. So we're working on a campaign to specifically target the owners of vacant properties, the property owners that have large amounts of liens. We're working with development services to identify what the exact audience is, and then we're preparing to do a letter campaign to them. In addition, we want to just publicize this generally so that people know that this is an option and it could have advantages for them. And then the big question, of course, is how do we fund this? What we really took away from our talks with Nitro and Charleston is that land reuse agencies work best in tight cooperation with city management, and really that's the only way that they are going to be successful. They were very clear with us. They are not self-sustaining, they are not money makers, but they are a tool for cities to use to accomplish goals. And so we are coming with some ideas of our own of what we can do. I hate to use the overused term low-hanging fruit, but I think that's kind of where we are now with the side lot program, property donations. Those are things that we can do easily without any funding at all and acquire some property that we can then flip and generate some income from. That's what we're going to do. If you all have other things that you would like to accomplish, we are here to help you. Charleston managed to demolish 500 homes. They also set up their own program to incentivize infill development. Nitro got, I think, $1 million from their city, and they completely revitalized their commercial core very strategically to make it what they want. So the agency is a tool, and we would love to see it used. But our plan moving forward is to continue leasing the building that we own, to consider flipping any properties that come to us that we think might have value. We are also looking at designating some sort of income stream that the city already has to the agency, whether that's vacant structure fees, whatever it is. I don't know the options yet, but we are going to investigate that. And then, of course, funding allocations from the city on a project basis. So that kind of concludes where we are today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have. And Adelheid is here too in case we need some help.
Any question?
So some of the spaces are designated as possible green space. You've already identified which might be helpful with connectors to different trail systems, either part of the green belt or the rail connection to the rail trail.
We have not done that analysis yet, but we do have it on our list. I mean, what came out of our strategic plan is a giant task list, and we've been parsing those up between committees, and we're gonna get on them.
It says possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we should do. I think we need to meet with those groups and say, like, where are your key places, and can we be helpful there? Can we acquire something for you? You know, maybe there's already an intersection with something that the city owns, or I think we need to look at that strategically.
Yeah, sure. And then some are obviously in floodplain, so that can't be built upon, and some hopefully we can build upon.
Right.
Do something with housing there.
Yes?
I think you have an agency that has enormous potential and enormous challenges and enormous talent. And so we all continue to appreciate the work that you do. We do understand that funding is of great help and helps your efficacy. So I think we've started down that path, and as you come up with innovative suggestions, we would love to help. I think we're at a stage where some of the funds, like some of the post-COVID funds that were immensely helpful and allowed us to try some different things that were in line with what we wanted to do, but just made some funds available. That's not around anymore, so we need to make sure that we're adjusting to our new reality and make sure, which is very similar to our old reality, but make sure that we are figuring out how to support your agency. So really appreciate everything that you all are doing, and look forward to what we can work on next, and to make sure that the Greenmont project can continue at some pace so that we aren't giving up that opportunity.
Thanks.
To chime in, just again, thank you. It's been a long time coming. Even before your organization, it was the hall trying to get it. And I'm pleased to see that once we put it in place, the momentum has begun. So I hope that continues, and I hope I could be of some support.
Thank you.
Move to approve the property transfer?
Second.
Good idea.
I just want to point out what looks like an error on page 19 of the agenda. The wrong parcel is circled. So I just want to point that out for the record. 726 instead of 729 on map 36, page 19.
You got us all scrambling now to find it.
On second reading, we'll prepare that for council, and if there needs to be a change to the documentary materials that were supplied, we'll update those and provide them to you as well.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Jessica, thank you for that presentation too, by the way, and answering those questions. Any discussion? We're good? Okay.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes?
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Buchanan?
Yes. Passes 7-0. Next, we have the consideration of approval of a first reading of an ordinance transferring property identified as parcel ID 3110 0030 0202 0000 from the Morgantown Building Commission to the City of Morgantown. I see Ricky is in the audience. Is this a Ricky?
Oh, Mayor, I can describe this for you.
All right.
This transfer is in service of the forthcoming Lower Marilla Park improvement project that the City Council has taken on in conjunction with Bow Park. As a part of that project, all of the property that's improved with project funds will be consolidated into one parcel and then will serve as security for the financing for that project. There is one part of that property that is currently owned by the Building Commission, and what we're asking to do with this ordinance is to transfer that to the city so that it can then be consolidated into that one parcel for purposes of being used as security for the project financing. This will be presented on 2 readings of council if you choose to move it forward, and the Building Commission will be considering authorizing the transfer at a meeting on May 13th, so before your second reading. Happy to answer any questions, of course, but we would ask that council move this on to second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
You can have it.
Good on discussion. Okay.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Bugon,
Yes, passed 7-0. Next, we have consideration of approval of a resolution changing the public hearing date to May 27, 2025 with respect to the following proposals, and that is the removal of certain parcels from the City of Morgantown Redevelopment District Number 3, the TIF District, thereby amending the originally approved boundaries of the TIF District. 2, the extension of the TIF District termination date by an additional 15 years pursuant to Section 10A of Chapter 7, Article 11B of the Code of West Virginia 1931 as amended, and 3, permission to issue additional tax increment revenue bonds or other obligations to fund additional phases of development within the amended project plan for the TIF District.
Thank you, Mayor. That very thorough title of the resolution explains the amendment to the TIF district that will be proposed. This is a procedural matter. When a city wants to propose an amendment to one of its TIF districts, it needs to set a public hearing on that proposed amendment, and then after the public hearing, it can submit an application to the state for approval. Only after the state's approval can it take up the ordinance that would actually make the change. So this is resolution that will set that public hearing for your May 27th meeting. We'll actually reset it from the previously scheduled date. If you have any questions about that, we have Carrie Cecil with Frost Brown Todd here, who's representing the city in connection with this amendment, and she can address those much better than I.
And I feel for clarity, we should acknowledge that this was from the meeting. This is to address the meeting that was not.
That's right, Mayor. This was
Publicized.
this public hearing was originally set for April 22nd. It was published in the newspaper as required for the notices of these public hearings, but it was late to be posted on the city website, and there were people who had written in indicating that they may wish to offer comment and had not had earlier notice of this. So council elected to reschedule this for a later date. We're just going to go through that notice process again.
Out of an abundance of caution to ensure the public had an opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And did anyone have any questions?
Move to approve.
Second. Okay.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Bugon,
Yes. Passes 7-0. Next, we have consideration of approval of a resolution amending the 2025. Is this a typo? 2025 budget?
2024 to 2025 budget. Yes, sir.
All right, so number E, we should change that to say 2024-2025 budget, revision number 6 for the Morgantown General Fund. Mr. John Ferguson, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. John Ferguson, Finance Director. Thank you for the opportunity to present the budget amendment. This is the best time of the night, in my personal opinion, is the budget resolutions. Thank you, I appreciate it. For the general fund budget resolution number 6, we have a handful of items. A lot of these are just housekeeping. Some of them are cleanup for the end of the year, and some of them, at least one of them is at least near and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that our fire department gets exactly what they need when it comes to that. But we'll get to that here in just a second. The very first one that we have on the list, this is our reclassification of the fiscal year 25 budget resolution number 5. Now, when we passed the budget resolution number 5 for the City of Morgantown, or excuse me, not the City of Morgantown, the Morgantown Public Library System to help provide them additional funding, that was reported on the form, the actual request for revision of approved budget that got sent to the West Virginia State Auditor's Office. That was reported using code 444, which stands for the contributions/transfers to other funds. That's the exact code that we use for our internal accounting and budgeting purposes. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, after I sent that approved budget to the West Virginia State Auditor's Office, I got an email back saying that
it had a lot of crosses all over it and a lot of notes. And after 3.5 days of talking with them, they're super helpful, by the way. I really do appreciate their help with this. They are a tremendous resource for my office particularly. But after 3.5 days of conversation, it was determined that, however, the use of that account code on the approved form is technically correct. It was originally reported to the state for the fiscal year 24-25 budget using account code 916 under library. Now, that account code corresponds typically to a department number, whereas the city of Morgantown, the Morgantown Public Library System, isn't technically a department of the city of Morgantown. That's why we do internally record it under account number 444 to transfers out to other organizations. So because it was originally sent to the West Virginia State Auditor's Office under the code 916, they respectfully requested that we amend our budget revision to reflect that for consistency purposes. We're not transferring any additional budget to the library. We are not changing anything that we have done internally. The only thing we are doing is just complying with their wish to be more consistent with our reporting moving forward. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. This is just one of those housekeeping items. Okay, number 2, this is where we are proposing a budget revision to account for reimbursements for asbestos sampling expenditures. The purpose of this budget revision is basically to record the revenues that were received. We received 2 separate deposits from the West Virginia State Environmental Protection Program, totaling $7,181, and then we also had a third-party reimbursement of $745. Because those revenues came in, those were reimbursements for expenditures of the city, we wanted to make sure that the budget was then reflected to reinstate or reimburse that particular department's budget. It was for our code department. We want to make sure that their budget is correspondingly increased to reflect that. That's all really this is. We had additional monies come in for monies that were spent. We're just trying to make that department whole. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Again, just real minor housekeeping items. Number 3, this is for the Lipitor settlement monies received. You might have seen this in the news. I actually saw it in the news last week. We got notice of this back in January that, hey, we might be getting money. And then, what was it? It was last week or the week before, I got an email from Damien asking about it, and he happened to walk in and had the check in his hand. So that was quite a surprise. And what this is that thanks to the West Virginia Attorney General's office, they had secured $17 million settlement with Pfizer and with Ranbaxy, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, over allegations that the companies conspired to delay the introduction of generic drugs, specifically for Lipitor. As part of that settlement, the city of Morgantown received $25,000. This budget revision not only reflects that the $25,000 has been received, but then we are also transferring that back into the city's life and health fund to help supplement the city's self-funded health insurance plan. The money was originally part of our prescription spend from years past. That prescription spend was unfortunately more than what it should have been because of this delay. So all we're really doing is that the money's received in one hand, we are basically transferring it over to the other hand where that money was originally spent years ago. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. Okay. Next, we have, this is the one that that I shouldn't say that I like, but this one is more near and dear to me, is helping the fire department transfer available budget that they currently have in their operating budget in the general fund, transferring that over to the capital escrow fund to help supplement their capital budget, which is basically we're moving money for the same department. So if you picture, again, I'm very visual, this is the general fund on my left-hand side, this is the capital escrow fund on my right-hand side. What we're simply doing is that with this budget resolution, we are transferring the fire department's available budget that is currently in general fund over to the capital escrow fund to their capital budget so that they can then proceed with the purchase of additional, let me make sure I'm saying it right.
Security equipment?
Yeah, it's the electronic door locks for 3 different fire stations. They just want to make sure that they have the ability to lock up using something extremely similar to what we have here in this building, making sure that it is consistent across all of the city-owned buildings. That way, not only does it work best for the fire department, but also for our IT department, which then has to make sure that it actually works. So not only are we ensuring security for all 3 fire stations, but also we are ensuring that our IT department can service that. So that's what this budget resolution revision is for, simply to transfer available budget, which they currently have in their department, from one fund to the other fund. It's not going anywhere outside of their department. It is simply being transferred over to their capital budget. Does that make sense? Okay. Next, we have the reconciliation of municipal sales and use tax revenue. Now, we actually have an entire reconciliation for our municipal sales and use tax fund. We'll get to that here shortly. What this does, this reconciles the actual amount that was received during the fiscal year 2025. Now that we have received all 4 quarterly payments of the municipal sales and use tax, we are reconciling the general fund's allocation to what was budgeted originally to what we actually have now for actual. And you can see here that the difference between the two, let me flip the page because I have it on the top of the page, there is a $60,980 increase to the overall budget compared to actual versus the amended or modified budget, because we've already modified it once so far this year. But that additional $60,980, that basically reflects the actual increase in the 4 quarterly payments that have been received now for the fiscal year 2025. Now that is now being allocated to 3 different areas. The first area is for attorney services. And no, we are not increasing the actual spend to the attorney. What we're doing at the request of our accounts payable clerk and our budget specialists, who are phenomenal at their jobs. They take a lot of pride in what they do. They're very concerned that the due date of when the last payment, or excuse me, the first payment of our next fiscal year is June 30th, and our budget is based on the cash basis of accounting, not the accrual basis of accounting for financial reporting purposes, but for budget purposes is on the cash basis. We need to make sure we have available budget in there to actually make that payment on or before the due date. Again, they are very good at what they do, and this was something that has been bothering them, so I said, let's just make sure that we do it. Once we do it, we won't have to do it again. So what this is that we are now increasing our cash basis budget for the first payment of the fiscal year 2026 that's due on or before June 30th, which means we're going to be paying it on or before the last day of our fiscal year. Does that make sense? Okay. Next part of that is the city garage pollution insurance premium. The city garage pollution insurance policy is a 3-year policy, which means that it gets paid once every 3 years. It's currently not included in our fiscal year 2025 budget. It's for $17,073. It is something that's normal, should be budgeted for, but however, most likely because it only happens once every 3 years, it wasn't included. So unfortunately, we do have to make sure that we do have available budget before we can make that expenditure. Then we're going to allocate that for $17,073. And then finally, the third portion of the increase in sales tax is simply going to our contingency budget line, which means that we have a dollar amount of the remaining balance, which is going to our contingency. If we use it, that's great. If not, it will be rolled forward for next year. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm moving on, not to worry.
Does the municipal sales tax reconciliation keep things within the codified allocations, the 25% allocations?
It sure does. And we can talk more about that after one more of these. Absolutely. Thank you. Lastly, this one right here, again, this is more or less a housekeeping item for us. What we're trying to do with the last item here is to have a proposed budget revision for the reimbursement from MUB for the Coburn Creek Pedestrian Bridge Project, which is also a smaller portion of the overall comprehensive White Park project. This particular project, this is the one where MUB is basically they're financing it. Either we pay for it and they reimburse us, or they simply pay for the distributions out of it. This particular budget resolution is just simply to cover a refund where the city actually made the disbursement. In our prior fiscal year, we received the reimbursement from MUB in early August. So what we want to do is account for that, not only bringing that, we want to account for that revenue, but then we're also reimbursing that particular department for their budget that was used in the prior year. So all we're simply doing is that we are recording, if you want to call it the timing difference of when we spent the money versus when we received the money, but because it was between 2 fiscal years, we are now recording that as a reimbursement from a prior year, and we are also bringing that back in basically to make that department whole. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay. Any questions on the general fund budget revision? Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
John does a great job.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Buchanan.
Yes. Resolution passes 7-0. There you go again?
Yes, sir.
Back. This is for the consideration of approval of a resolution amending the 24-25 budget revision number 6 for the Morgantown Capital Escrow Fund.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, John Ferguson, Finance Director. The second best part of tonight's meeting, in my personal opinion. This one is going to be relatively short. We really only have 2 items. The first item is related to the transfer of available budget from the fire department's operating budget in the general fund, transferring that available budget over to their capital budget over in the capital escrow fund. And that is again related to their electronic door locks for all 3 fire stations. And again, that is to, number 1, make sure that we do have the proper security for those buildings, and number 2, that we have consistency across the city's properties, basically to help out our IT department to facilitate that. Any questions on that one? So,
I have one.
yes, ma'am.
So when we're doing this, the places where it was coming from, do we run the risk of any of those items not being funded? Not having enough funds
You mean over on the operating side?
on the operating side?
Okay, on the operating side, they have multiple funds, which are currently, there's a little bit in each one that they have available. We are basically taking a little bit from a number of different individual accounts, and that overall does equal the $44,361. I've already gone through the projections. We are not projecting to have any overages or needing any budget amendments to their operating fund to make sure that they are fully funded through the end of this fiscal year. All we're doing is we're taking a little bit from a couple, or I shouldn't say a couple, a handful of different accounts that they have as surplus and moving that over.
Great.
So we're not taking anything away from them. It's their
I
money.
got that part.
They just
I
want
got
to
that
use it
part.
as something else.
Just wanted to make sure that we were not going to come up short in those accounts.
Yes, ma'am.
When we were making sure that we're having door locks.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. So any questions with that? Okay. Now, number 2, this is related to the reconciliation of the municipal sales tax or sales and use tax revenue. This is strictly for the allocation to the capital escrow fund, very similar to the general fund. So in fiscal year 2025, we have received all 4 quarterly payments from the West Virginia Treasury for our municipal sales and use tax. The actual reconciliation, the dollar amount that was over and beyond the original budget that was received for the capital escrow was $55,715.64. We are increasing our total sales and use tax revenue for that, and then we are also increasing our corresponding contingency budget for that exact same amount. So we're not allocating that anywhere at this time except for our contingency budget. Now, our contingency budget is very important. That's basically where we use the contingency fund to address any unexpected expenses that were not originally included in the budget for long-term projects and or significant purchases. So it's very important. When we can contribute back to that, I believe we should. Any questions with that? Okay. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
No discussion?
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Buchanan?
Yes. 7-0. Come on down.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, John Ferguson, the third best part of tonight.
Hold on,
in my personal opinion. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
First, let me agree that this is the third best.
Third best.
But I have to read this part. Consideration of approval of a resolution amending the 24-25 budget revision number 1 for the Morgantown Municipal Sales and Use Tax Fund. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. This budget revision is the reconciliation of our budgeted or expected municipal sales and use tax fund, which was established back in February, or should start in January, February, and March of 2024 for this fiscal year. That expectation came in at $9,600,000. Our actual revenues were $10,090,694.51. Overall, that is an increase of $490,695, or a 5% increase in the original budget. This budget revision simply reconciles our original estimate, our original budget, to now what we have is actual numbers, and then we are dispersing those accordingly. According to our ordinance, which I have in here, I'll make sure I say it right. No, we have not miscoded. Our ordinance 2022-19, which is as follows: 25% is allocated to Bow Park, which they have already received. 25% is allocated to reducing the unfunded actuarially accrued liability of the city police and fire pension funds. We'll talk about that here in just a second. 25%, which is allocated to our capital escrow fund, which we have already discussed previously, and then finally 25% to the city's general fund, which was determined during the fiscal year 2025 budget process. So when we come right down to it, really when we talk about our expenditures, everybody got, I shouldn't say everybody, all the allocations were distributed. To be quite honest, there's $1 left in the account now for the municipal sales and use tax fund. So all of those distributions have already happened. The past 3 quarters actually happened same day, where it was allocated exactly where it should. The one thing here that I did want to make sure was mentioned was that the pension fund allocations. Okay, Regarding the 25%, which was allocated to reducing, which was and is allocated to reducing the unfunded actuarially accrued liability of the city police pension and fire pension on January 7th. You folks had the vote. We are now moving forward to what is considered the compromise plan for funding both the city police pension fund and the city fire pension fund. Part of that compromise plan was to begin immediately depositing that 25% allocation to both the fire and the police pension fund so that they can immediately start investing that, and that way they can start potentially earning interest and growth on that fund, which actually did happen during actually it was our third quarterly payment. The day we received it, we turned right around and they got their distribution. So their 25% divided by 2, so each got 12.5%. That was deposited into their accounts, which the following day they then in turn transferred that into their investment accounts. Everything happened the way it should have. The exact same thing happened back in late April, April 24th or 20th, whatever the date was that we actually received the funds, when the money hit our account, same exact thing. We transferred the money into their checking accounts. They then in turn around and transferred that into their investment accounts. So it did exactly what we wanted it to do. The city will be getting credit for that when we do calculate our employer credit for that. It's considered an additional employer contribution in this fiscal year, which will not only help us in the long term because it started being invested almost immediately, but also the city will get a credit for that those two deposits will now be taken into consideration for that annual credit that gets amortized moving forward for the city. So it was a win-win for our city and for our pension funds by depositing those monies basically immediately. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So on page 4, you'll see right there's the allocation. You can see their quarterly allocations for both the third and fourth quarter. Both police and fire pension funds individually receive $647,943.38. They got exactly what we promised them. And right now we are on very good terms with them, and I'd like to keep it that way. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second. Joe, thank you for your presentation. Your presentations are always very thorough, and it's good to hear, and you're more than welcome when you can come and you can tell us that we're not dealing with negatives, but we're dealing with positives, so I appreciate that too. And just to put things in perspective, this money is not just a gift, it's already pretty much allocated to various activities that we have ongoing. You mentioned the pension plan, but also I think it helps to take care of some of our employee health insurance that we had to dip into funds in order to cover those too, if I'm not mistaken.
Through the general fund allocation, yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes.
Well, very good. So thank you again for your presentation. It's always very thorough.
All right.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Bugan?
Yes. Passes 7-0. City Manager's report.
Nothing really to report. A lot of events going on in the downtown this weekend. Last weekend, first Friday, this coming weekend we have the Arts Walk. This is finals week for W students, so student move out is this weekend as well. Graduation, which is typically on Mother's Day, is not on Mother's Day this year. It's the week following that. So traffic will be heavy in the next couple of weeks, but then it will be nice. I want to echo her comments earlier that the downtown is safe. You know, I've gone to the events and brave first Friday in the rain this past weekend, and the power outage for 2 hours, and never had any issues downtown. So I just, try to attend most of the events downtown and always have a good time.
Question for City Manager. Do you have an update on the streetscape on Walnut? Just
Amen.
kind of where we are with that?
So
That's 2 weeks. I've not seen any activity whatsoever.
The project is on hold right now. There is, as you know, the sidewalks in front of those buildings have basements underneath of them.
Mm-hmm.
As the contractor was going through, he had some questions about how to construct the proposed structural beams that support the sidewalks and support the building facades. Our engineer has been looking into answering those questions, making some changes, and so they're pretty close to finalizing that design on that structural member, and we're hoping that they can get back out there next week, hopefully. But we're just waiting on that redesign. What it was the beam that was designed was it was a certain size, and those are occupied spaces in some of those basements. So some of them have like a bathroom for the facility and other things that beam that was designed was too low. You'd bang your head on it. So they're redesigning that beam to make that space better. So I'm hoping that they'll be finished up next week with that design and get moving again. So contractor's anxious to get moving again. Been in contact with both them and the designer here the last couple of weeks, and yeah, it's disappointing we got going, and the contractor was making good progress, and then had to slow down.
The businesses on Walnut Street are also anxious. They're being blocked for no apparent reason right now, and they're losing business.
It is, not to be critical, but on the other hand, this is a project that's been ongoing for some time.
For a long time.
And it's been engineered for some time, and I don't think anybody was surprised by the fact that there were problems with the sidewalks and the structures underneath. So I'm a little...
With everything like old, when you start tearing it, you find things that you don't anticipate, and so.
Well, I guess the important thing is that we are moving.
Yes.
And
yeah, there's movement behind the scenes right now to try to get it moving.
well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do to keep it moving.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions?
Thank you. And City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. And to John, I have the fourth best. I'll take the fourth. So the Fire Civil Service Commission met a few weeks ago. I did share this last meeting, but I would like to share it again. Dates for the agility exam for new entry-level firefighters were set. Dates for a written exam and 2 open houses were set. The open houses are beneficial for candidates to interact with the firefighters and take the agility exam as a practice. The first open house is on June 1st at 1 p.m. at Northside Fire Station. The second open house is on June 14th at 9 a.m. at the Northside Fire Station. The written exam is on July 30th at 6 p.m. at the Morgantown Public Safety Training Center. Interested candidates can apply online or fill out a job interest form. The job interest form directs information to the city clerk's office automatically, and we'll get the information out to the person who is interested in that. Candidates must be 18 to 35 years old, a U.S. citizen, and live within a 1-hour drive time from the Morgantown Fire Department. Additionally, the Police Civil Service Commission held a meeting on May 1st, and they set their entry-level exam dates, and the next date is June 28th, 2025 at 9 a.m., and the second one is October 18th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Information regarding both the fire and the police applications are all on our website. If folks could get to the website at morgantownwb.gov, go to departments, and then hover over police department or fire department, you can scroll down and there are links there to apply online for both. And just want to, as a reminder, we are still down about 20 police officers, so we need them. So share that information if you could. And lastly, the City of Morgantown held its municipal election on Tuesday, 28, 2025. A total of 1,924 ballots were cast. And the City Council has declared the following election results. Mark Downs has been elected as the representative for the 6th Ward. Jody Hollingshead and Jenny Celine secured their positions in the 2nd and 4th Wards, respectively. In addition to the council elections, voters considered the 2 ballot initiatives. Voters rejected the first initiative, which proposed a charter amendment allowing the City Council to approve the city manager residing outside the city while employed. A majority cast a no vote, with 1,412 residents voting no and 429 voting yes. For the second initiative regarding ordinance number 2024-29, which enacts a new Article 1157 of the City Code titled Camping on Public Property, residents voted to not repeal the ordinance. A majority voted no to repeal, with 986 residents voting no and 905 voting yes. I want to share the importance of our poll workers and how hard they worked. It was long hours during early voting. They worked about 10 and a half hours each day of early voting, and with no breaks. And then on election day, it's such a long day for them. They did a fabulous job. And to our staff, a lot of our staff from Public Works and our IT department, our GIS department, so many, almost all of our departments have helped in some way to help get this election and to start it, and all the process of making the signs and through the election day, and then at canvas. I can't say how grateful I am to all of them, how their hard work and their help in making this election a success. So I just want to say thank you to them. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And city report from our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. We have following up on the conclusion of the state legislative session, a few items that will come before council to address legislation that was passed. One is an opportunity that council had discussed expansion of safe haven sites to include the public safety building. So work on an ordinance to name that site as requested. There was a law passed that precludes charging fees for parking for disabled veterans or Purple Heart recipients, as well as organizations involved in the transportation of individuals who need mobility assistance. And so I've talked to the Parking Authority Director about any enforcement changes needed to address that, and expect to be presenting an ordinance to council to codify those exemptions as well from parking fees as necessary. Finally, there's a law passed that both creates a home-based business exception for certain permitting requirements and creates exceptions to business licensure and business and occupation tax payment requirements for businesses that are some combination of sole proprietorships, independent contractors, and places without a physical place of business in the city and have less than $2,500 in annual gross revenue. So we will need to update the city's codes to reflect that. And while the law won't go into effect until July 11, we should have that in effect before July 1 so that it coincides with our fiscal year. So those should be forthcoming to council. We're working on them with staff. And also, I should say, I really appreciate the assistance of the Municipal League with this. Director Susan Economo and their attorney Mark Makovich attended our Municipal Attorneys Association meeting last week and discussed these and some other pieces of legislation there. It was great help. That is all I have to report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
start with you and work our way around.
Sure. Everyone already talked about the stuff I want to talk about. I always talk about downtown events. Damien already brought those up. It does look like the Arts Walk this weekend will have much better weather than First Friday last weekend. I got very damp. I think I just missed you. I spoke with your wife and
Yeah, we were having pizza with my daughter at the.
yeah, when we were driving away, John's like, there's Damien.
That's all you had.
So, I also had the opportunity last week to represent City Council at the Morgantown Fire Department's session of the Citizens Leadership Academy. That one was a fun one. Everyone really missed it. They let us spray the fire hoses and put on gear, and Chief Fresh Hour and Andy Dotson did a great job, and Lieutenant Sharp and his guys who were on staff that night at the Northside Fire Station were very welcoming. It's always fun to go there. I'm trying to set up a ride along on a fire truck. Lieutenant Sharp says he will happily take me, so looking forward to that. Yeah, I don't think that's fine.
This coming Thursday at 6:30, Caitlin Lewis, our community development specialist, and I think several other city folks are going to meet with our neighborhood in South Hills and do a walk through the neighborhood just to help identify issues, needs, and share that with the city staff. And so I'm thankful that Caitlin, who attended our most recent neighborhood meeting, made that offer, and so that's going to happen this Thursday. We have a rain date a week from Thursday if need be, but we'll be meeting at the top of Vandalia where we often have our block party, up at the very top of Vandalia and Cooper Street. So that is this Thursday at 6:30. And then I'd like to thank Mark Downs and Stephanie Hunt for being willing to run for my open seat, and this thing's always great when you have competition, and I applaud you both, and congratulations to Mark for winning. That's all I have.
Not much to report. Just wanted to talk about one event that's in the community. The Freedom Farmers will be having a plot preparation event for community garden space at 41 Dorsey Lane on May 9th and 10th from 1 to 4 p.m. That's
10th and 11th. Saturdays.
Your flyer says 9th and 10th?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Say that. I didn't catch that. Say that
10th and 11th, I guess.
Say that
They'll
one
do,
more time.
for community garden space, they'll be doing at 41 Dorsey Lane, plot prep.
On May 10th and 11th.
Yeah.
Not the 9th.
Gotcha.
Yeah. 10th and 11th.
Wonderful.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. I received a text from the Gene Vance family thanking us for the proclamation. Just wanted to let you know. Somebody out there is watching. And also, too, I wanted to thank the city clerk and the city clerk's office. Very appreciative of what they do for us. You deserve a week. You deserve more than a week. You deserve our praise, and I want to particularly thank you for the activity, a well-done election. And that was done, I'm sure, under great stress and for a period of time almost single-handedly. So thank you again. That ends my report.
I don't have too much today. The North, I did want to get an update because the residents have been asking about North Street.
So North Street, the construction's moving, but we had to relocate 4 utility poles on that. Mullen Power has done their work. They relocated the poles, and we're waiting for all the communication companies to come transfer their lines over. So we're stuck on going down that the curb line on that one side, waiting for the communication companies to transfer over.
So a couple more weeks.
We're hoping. We're trying to identify whose lines they are and try to pester them to get out there and do that.
Okay.
It took them a while to to get it transferred over down on First Street. That was one of the holdups down there. Was getting them. Mon Power again does a good job. They came out, got their work done. They have to go first, and then everything else goes in order on the line. And so,
Thanks, appreciate it.
that's all I have.
I also appreciate the well-run election. I think it was very well-run, and do appreciate the portion where you were flying solo, because that is the busiest time in the clerk's office. In light of the discussion about the ballot measure, I just wanted to mention some sort of common themes about Morgantown that I appreciate. I think I very much appreciate our common love for our city, common love for our people, common love for our downtown and our neighborhoods, that there is agreement and support regarding harm reduction and other types of services that are produced by our community. Desire to have more housing available, which came to bear a little bit this evening, but I know that there has in the last year been talk and action and exploration of tiny homes. Rehabbing houses obviously was discussed this evening. Having more low barrier shelter space, revamping more space at Hazel's house, and I would look forward to moving forward as a council on any and all of these items as we move forward after the ballot measure. So I just want to make sure that we kind of realize that we have a lot of commonalities here and see what we can do to work together on those. That's enough from me. Thank you.
Just a couple quick things. Lauren's Wish is having a fundraiser on Thursday with a fashion show, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. And on the 20th, so our next meeting, I will not be able to be here because I will be at my kids' senior awards banquet in Morgantown High. I only have one kid, so I only get to attend once. It's important I'm there. As if I had multiple kids, I would choose to skip one of them. That's not the case. I'm not saying that at all.
Everyone's got a favorite.
I only get to do this once is the point I'm really trying to emphasize here. And then we have and since I will be at that, I feel I should mention that the Morgantown High graduation is the 24th of May. So I'm not sure how traffic will look. And then we were talking earlier about there being traffic backup, and my assumption, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is there's construction in Westover right at the end of the bridge, and that is causing traffic to build. I sat in it in one spot for 30 minutes while a construction worker was literally 8 feet in a hole. So is that what's causing that backup?
Yes, they're doing the Holland Avenue project where they're doing the sewer and water line and that retaining wall.
Big project.
Yeah.
The retaining wall is complete, I think, but they're working on the water and sewer lines now. Then once that's done, then they'll pave Holland Avenue, which will be great because that was a terrible road.
My car will be happy.
Yes. Yes. But so it's going to be inconvenient for a little while, but it definitely be better in the long run.
I know that I watched my Apple Maps traffic, like the little red line, slowly build backwards all the way past the gas station while I sat there. So if anyone's asking why there's traffic downtown, it's spring and the orange cones have sprung. And I guess I'll end I can stop there. Anyone?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
There we go.